Jesus washes the feet of his friends. John 13, 1 through 17. Now, before the festival of the Passover, Jesus knew that his hour had come to depart from this world and go to the Father. Having loved his own who were in the world, he loved them to the end. The devil had already put it into the heart of Judas, son of Simon Iscariot, to betray him. And during supper, Jesus, knowing the Father had given all things into his hand, and that he had come from God and was going to God, got up from the table, took off his outer robe, and tied a towel around himself. Then he poured water into a basin and began to wash the disciples' feet and to wipe them with the towel that was tied around him.
He came to Simon Peter, who said to him, Lord, are you going to wash my feet?
Jesus answered, You do not know now that what I am doing, but later you will understand.
Peter said to him, You will never wash my feet.
Jesus answered, Unless I wash you, you will have no share with me.
Simon Peter said to him, Lord, not my feet only, but also my hands and my head.
Jesus said to him, One who has bathed does not need to wash except for the feet, but is entirely clean. And you are clean, though not all of you. For he knew who was to betray him. For this reason he said, Not all of you are clean. After he had washed their feet, had put on his robe, and had returned to the table, he said to them, Do you know what I have done to you? You call me teacher and Lord, and you are right, for that is what I am. So if I, your Lord and teacher, have washed your feet, you also ought to wash one another's feet. For I have set you an example, that you also should do as I have done to you. Very truly, I tell you, servants are not greater than the master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them.
Hello. My earliest memory of Easter is the annual Salem Lions Club Easter egg hunt. Now, I'm sure I was excited. There was going to be lots of free candy, and all I had to do was bend over and pick it up. I was just a little guy. I was timid. I was awkward. And I remember the anticipation of standing with my little basket in hand, lining up along the rope with the other kids. Some were kicking the dirt like they were bulls. Some were leaning forward like Olympic sprinters waiting to burst forward to fill their baskets with as much Easter candy as they could. I remember the rush of bodies as a herd burst forth, and I remember the feeling of utter surprise as the faster, older kids bumped, pushed, and grabbed from right in front of me piece after piece of chocolate treasure. I remember wandering away from the chaos of bodies to look for candy in a quieter, safer area. There was none. I remember hugging my dad's leg and fighting back tears at my utter disappointment. My earliest Easter experience stands in stark contrast to what Easter is meant to symbolize. It stands in stark contrast to the actions of Christ in the upper room with his disciples, where during the meal he lowers himself from his position as a Son of God to that of a humble servant. And then he moves from disciple to disciple, washing their feet, even the feet of Judas, who he knew was going to betray him. Jesus teaches them by example what it means to love, what it means to love fully, what it means to love unconditionally. Just a couple of days previously, the disciples had entered Jerusalem with Christ. These guys thought they were rock stars. Jesus was coming into Jerusalem with his band of merry men to take over. They were going to be important. They were going to be powerful. They were going to be influential men. I can picture them strutting down the road, heads high and chest out. But then at dinner, something extraordinary happens. Jesus shows them how they're going to rule. Through humility, by washing the feet of others, by serving those they were to influence. Jesus said, "For I have set you an example, that you also should do as I have done to you. Very truly, I tell you, servants are not greater than their master, nor are messengers greater than the one who sent them. If you know these things, you are blessed if you do them." I wonder how disappointed the disciples were. We live in a world where we are encouraged to grab everything we can. Every roll of toilet paper, every sanitary wipe. I was here first. I worked hard for this. I deserve it. Today it's all about taking. Yet Jesus taught us we have a responsibility to give, to serve. If the church could grasp this, it would change the influence of the church in this nation. If the church could grasp this, it would put Christianity front and center in the world. Wouldn't it be amazing if instead of being known as judgmental, legalistic, hypocritical televangelists, the church was known for putting others first? Instead of ignoring or even worse, elbowing the smaller, the weaker, the less fortunate out of the way and grabbing the candy, what if the church filled their baskets? This is just basic Christian teaching, and it's what Jesus modeled for us. The question is, what are you going to do with what you've been given? If we properly grasp this, the world changes. It's how Christianity toppled the Roman Empire, not with an army, but through their generosity, through their mercy, through their understanding of the concept of loving their neighbor as themselves. How I wish this was a reputation of the church in the world. I hope when people think of our church, they say things like, "I'm glad they're in this neighborhood." When they look at our young men, they say, "I want my daughter to marry one of those guys." When they look at our daughters, they say, "I want my son to marry one of those young ladies." What have they said? "I want to work for a Christian boss. I hear they're the greatest." How about, "There is nothing better than a rich Christian." And the glory should all go to Christ. He modeled it first. He lived it out. By his death on the cross, he gave us the ultimate example of giving up the right to be offended. Do you want to change the world? This is how you do it. Happy Easter.